Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School, and I want to welcome you to Dr. Boyce TV. Dr. Boyce TV is the home for intelligent Black people. This is where we have intelligent conversations with awesome Black folks who are doing amazing things. And today I have a chance to speak with Mr. Delano A Johnson. He is considered to be the CEO of creativity. He's done great work for companies like Toys R Us and many others. He has clients all around the world that look to him to help them to figure out how to use creativity to make their lives better. And so without further ado, I would like to ask my brother, how are you doing today, man?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Improving by the second.
All right, all right. And you and I met at the FraserNet conference, and you
Yes,
both have a lot of respect for George Fraser and the
yes,
FraserNet and everything else. And I'll tell you, man, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you, brother. And so what I can do is we can jump right into it. And I want to ask everybody who's watching, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button, all that stuff. And also shout out your city or the name of your business, market what you got going on so people know what's going on. Okay, so Mr. Johnson, let's start with this. You brought up something a little while ago that I thought was really profound. You said a lot of interesting things for sure. One thing that you said that really stuck with me was you were talking about, building businesses and why you said that before, you would start, whether it's business or any project.
yeah,
You said you went from the solopreneur kind of approach where I'm gonna do this, I'm the Lone Ranger, I'm gonna get this done
yeah,
on my own, to thinking in a more collective fashion, getting support from others, things like that. I have my own reasons for just agreeing 100% with you, but I'd like to get your take on that. What are
yeah.
your thoughts on why working collectively is better than working individually?
Yeah, I heard a wise man whose name is Dr. George C. Fraser said that when spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. When spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. And that's an old African proverb. And the the nucleus of what that means and what it implies is that nothing is done that is significant to humankind without the agreement principle and the together and unity principle. Nothing gets done on the earth without that principle. It's just one of the laws of creativity in the universe that God designed. He said, wherever two or three are gathered in my name, there I am. If two agree, let that thing be established. So there is a power in agreement. I mean, imagine living in your house and you don't have agreement with your spouse. What kind of a house? You ain't gonna get nothing done. The bills ain't gonna get paid. Nothing gonna get done. And we gonna come back 10 years and meet y'all at the same place. It takes agreement. So for me, when you're young, you are trying to develop who you are, right? In the creative universe. I refer to it as the creative universe, because to me, creativity is the most important thing that we have. We are always creating. God's the first name that he was attributed to was creator. So creativity is the most important thing. He started in Genesis with creating. In the middle part, he created a salvation or a redemption plan or a fix-it plan. And then at the end of it, he did a redo. He recreated. So from Genesis to Revelation, you see that creation is a big part of who God is. So it's important because, one, it's a part of humankind. We're designed to always seek for approval to get things done. Whenever you need something done, I don't care how, macho, I don't care how big your ego is, you got somebody in your corner who could say to me, yeah, that's a good background you got there. Oh yeah, that logo, that's a good logo. You're doing good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I love that. That's a great product. Someone who is always giving you that sense of agreement. So for me, one, it's a part of our DNA. Two, it's the only way that things get done on the earth. God had to agree with the Son. The Son had to agree with the Spirit. That's how things got done. And thirdly, the road to success is paved with a bunch of failures. All you got to do when you walk in it is pick up some of them and learn from it. You don't got to make those failures on your own. You don't have to make them on yourself. You don't have to generate new failures. And this is why, to me, one of the most important things you could have in the creative universe is a mentor, because essentially they are that individual, that voice of reason and reckoning that says to you, you can't do this alone, and here's how to do it.
Everybody who just came in, who's just seeing this, I'm speaking with Mr. Delano A Johnson. He is known as the CEO of Creativity. I met him at the FraserNet conference, and I'm super excited to get a chance to speak to him. And the topic for today is we're talking about the importance of creativity in setting goals and achieving those goals, but more specifically, creativity when it comes to building whatever or creating whatever it is you're trying to put together. I'll say this, Mr. Johnson, the reason that I liked your comment about not starting your business alone, not, trying to pursue your projects alone, is not just a matter of, that rugged individualism that's taught to us in America that
Right.
leads us to think we got to do it all by ourselves, which you don't, and you're usually going to do it wrong. But also, I found that, no matter how capable I became at something, there was just something where I realized, wait a minute, I can't be better than the collective most of the time. I can't come up with all the ideas that 5 or 6 people can come up with.
Yeah.
I can't work harder than 5 or 6 people if those are also hardworking people. I can't, I'm not as smart as 5 or 6 people, and so, and I think that's in contradiction to a lot of what we're taught. Like a lot of times you see people sort of presenting the image that, you come up with this thing all by yourself, you do it all by yourself, you get it done by yourself. And then you're stressed out and it doesn't succeed, or your idea, you put it out there and you didn't catch your own blind spot. Can you speak to that a little bit more in terms of a lesson that you learned personally that led you to that conclusion? Because you had mentioned that you weren't always that person. You
Right.
were also into that rugged individualism yourself. How did you make that transition?
Yeah, let me establish that. And that's a good question. How did you make the transition from doing it yourself to coming to knowing that you need the help of other people? Is that right? Yeah. First of all, I want to establish this. In the creative universe, there are 4 types of creators. There's the multi-talented. That's the individual who can do more than 3 things very well. We see them all the time. The music industry call them triple threats. You even have quadruple threats, individuals who do 4 things, have 4 streams of income within their industry. And they're very successful. Agents love them. That's the multi-talented. Number 2 is the creative manager. Now, the creative manager doesn't necessarily come up with, really great ideas or unique ideas, but they are masters at taking what someone gives them and producing profits or organization. So they can create out of chaos. That's the creative manager. Number 3, we have the super creative. Now, the super creative is this ambidextrous left brain, right brain kind of thinker. And most entrepreneurs find themselves there. They are the individual who can see, hear, think, do, and delegate. They can do everything at a great level, not the expert level, but above average level. And the last one, I want to put a push pin in the super creative individual, because I think that's what I want to address, because most of us, based on your demographics, suffer from some of the things that happen to the creative, super creative. But the last is the elite. Now, the elite creative is the individual who's a master at organizing and delegating. Their whole thing, and I know an elite creative in my life. Matter of fact, my mentor is Dr. George C. Fraser. He is a master at sitting back and watching all of the talent and creating some masterful piece based on everyone's abilities, giftings, and attributes. He's a master at it. I watch him from afar, and up close, and he's just a master at doing that. Now, the creative, the super creative, is the individual who suffers most from I can do it by myself. That's the person who is what we would call the solopreneur. Now, ironically, a lot of Blacks who have pierced through the darkness of abilities, who's pierced through the darkness of achievement, that wall that said we couldn't do certain things. And we've gone beyond and we've done that. For the most part, it has been what I call the creative, because they can think of a plan. They're an architect and an engineer at the same time, right? It's like Frank Lloyd Wright, who can draw a plan, see the usage of it, but yet understand the engineering, the civil engineering to actually make that functionable, right? So the super creative actually suffers from I can do it all, because they literally can do it all. But here is the challenge. When you start, you don't like to delegate because people don't have your passion, or they don't finish it with your level of expertise. Am I right, or am I right about that? Right?
Man, I think you're telling the story of my life.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because you could not have accomplished these things. Because number one, if you're an African-American, you're Black, you're in a first world society, you're swimming upstream with no paddle. You are coming against every grain, wave, tide there is. So there's not a lot of people who you can say, let's do this together with. So the only way that you could have accomplished what you have is to be a super creative. You up all night thinking about a plan. Somebody comes to you, or a best friend or an investor who likes what you're doing, and he asks what you're doing. You're able to give him a perspective, a business plan, and it looks good. And then you get funding. You know, most of the time people don't, if you're in the front and you're doing stuff, you don't have the abilities to actually break down your vision into phases, give the use of funds, and create a business plan properly to give to anybody that will approve it. So it took you being a super creative. So for me, just like you and many others who were super creatives, we did it all by ourselves. And I remember the turning point for me. I remember clearly. I called a friend of mine, a publisher. And I said to him, I said, Derwin, I said, Devin, I said, listen, how do I know when it's time to hire people? I was a solopreneur doing graphic designs, and I was growing. And I said, how do you know when it's time to hire people? And he said, he gave a little sinister laugh. And he said, I'm gonna tell you exactly what you need to do. He says, when you find that you're losing money and opportunity doing it yourself, it is time to hire others. And unfortunately, it takes us losing a job, losing a contract, losing an opportunity, losing sleep, losing health, losing happiness to figure out that we can't do it yourself. Here's a law. Everything is created on three. Whenever you're creating something, always look for an agreement of three. There's always the thinker, the talker, and the doer. Somebody who's thinking about the plan, somebody who can talk, that's the marketing person. They can go out and tell everybody. And then somebody that's doing it. That's your COO, the person that's, they're on the ground. They're just making it work. They're turning the wheels. So you always need those three individuals. Now, as African-American descendants, we've always done it by ourselves because it was difficult to convince other people of what we saw. If you have the Caucasian persuasion, then you always knew the power of agreement. I mean, when you think about it, there was three guys that started Facebook. There was three individuals that started Microsoft, right? You only hear about Paul Allen and Bill Gates, but when you look behind the scenes, there's always three people. You always need a thinker, a talker, and a doer. Nothing's going to get done unless you have that. So for me, to answer that question, which was a long way to do that, but I wanted to just build exactly what my methodology was and how I came to that place. So the answer is, that turning point for me was I was losing money, losing sleep, losing time, and losing the investment in my relationship with my wife, my first wife, till I came to the point where someone had to tell me that it doesn't make sense to lose it all. Hire some people now.
Well, I like that a lot, man. I think that and those of you who have this, who agree or have a perspective, feel free to share that in the chat. Also, please hit the thumbs up button. I'm speaking to Mr. Delano A Johnson, who is known as the CEO of Creativity, and we're talking about working together and the fact that you need help. We all need help, no matter how great you are. We all need help. You know, this idea of I can do it all by myself. That's just one that you probably want to let go of. And I'll say this, I was taking notes as you were talking because you were sparking so many thoughts that I wanted to supplement what you were saying, which I love. I hear I've heard people use terms like the jack of all trades, but the master of none, and kind of diluting yourself. Where you're doing so much that you get nothing done. How many of you have that problem? How many of you have seen people have that problem where you're just being flooded? I mean, this age of entrepreneurship, you're being flooded with all these great ideas and opportunities, and it can drive you crazy because all these opportunities take a lot of time and energy. I think of every opportunity, every opportunity, every great idea. It's almost like making a baby. It doesn't take that long to make a baby, but it takes about 100,000 hours to raise that baby to the age of 18, right? So
exactly.
So just because you can make a baby, that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be a good parent for that child, right? You can make 1,000 babies, but you can only raise maybe 5 or 10, right? So the same thing is true with your business ideas. Don't try to become the jack of all trades and the master of none. I think that, in fact, Delano, one of my beliefs is, in the Black Business School, I know that we have a Black Millionaires of Tomorrow, which is our program for children. And one of the things I've told the parents of the children in the program is I said, if you really want to teach your child how to be successful and how to make money, teach them the art of developing structure and systems and delegation. If they are in a program where they're learning how to delegate tasks, how to have structure, how to build organizations, then what they'll find is that a system and a structure and an organization and delegation can make a whole lot more money than an individual can most of the time. An organization, or a system doesn't have to sleep. A system, can continue going even if you're dead, if it's a good system, right? And so I would say that that ability to delegate is one of the most critical tasks a person can learn. And I'll share, part of my journey on that, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. But I remember, because I came from kind of a laboring class, like a lot of people in here, in our house, we had beliefs like if you don't work, you don't eat. That the way you bring in money is you go out here and you work extra hours and
work hard. Yeah,
man. A lot of us get that. And I remember, so I got to the point where I was able to become somewhat successful because I learned how to work extremely hard.
Right.
I know how to, I still do. And I love it. I can give the 13-hour days and work days a week. And man, I'd work on Christmas. It wasn't no thing to work half a day on Christmas, and I loved it. But then I got to the point where I said, man, I don't think I can work any harder without making myself sick or ruining the rest of my life. And even then I still wouldn't be able to get all the things done I need to get done. So my next challenge after I learned how to work hard was learning to not work so hard and to focus a little bit more on working more efficiently. And so instead of spending all my time doing the work, I would spend time delegating. I'd spend time, training people and working with them and talking to them and letting them know exactly what we need done and maybe reviewing the work that they got done. And what I found was that, the challenge it used to be, how do I go from working 40 hours a week to working 90 hours a week?
Right.
Man, now I think I can work 900 hours a week. You find people, you buy their time, you train them well, they execute the vision, and you spend the time delegating. That to me is part of the essence of really, when you talk about being a boss, which I believe all of our children should learn, is, the ability to delegate is one of the most important skills I think any entrepreneur can have. Can you kind of speak a little bit?
Yeah. Listen, I think you touch on a couple of things. Number one was the old saying of don't be the jack of all trade and the master of none, right? So here's my take. After 1971, we were taken off the gold standard. Nixon took the United States off the gold standard. And that economic move created a ripple effect in performance overall and expectation, delivery of services and goods. Because it created this engine where money now wasn't tied to a specific intrinsic value, and it could be created by the stroke of a pen or a keystroke. So it meant a lot of people had more access. So growth was exponential. Growth, everything was growing. It was growing. So corporations now, you couldn't just be Pepsi. You had to be Pepsi worldwide, right? You couldn't just be Coca-Cola. Now you had to be Coca-Cola worldwide. So that growth caused companies to enter into the multi area. I call it the multi, where, you know, there was multiple streams of income. They had multiple brands that they were managing. I'm talking about delegating now. I'm getting there. So in actuality, the same folks who told us not to be a jack of all trades now actually had to become a very proficient jack in order to harness and bring profitability to all your trades. So there was a shift in dichotomies, a shift in thought process, and then it was a shift in execution and output. And that's why today you're no value on the job if you can only speak one language. If you are multilingual, you're valuable. If you can somehow create multiple perspectives from your thoughts to be able to see an angle, to see a thing from many different angles, you're that much more valuable to the team that you're playing on, right? If you could shoot, score, right? You got handles, and you got an awesome defense. Well, first of all, you're Michael Jordan, but you got a great, great career and a brand ahead of you because you can do this multi. So while that phrase of doing it all, because before we talk about wanting to do it all, but now we're talking about managing everything that you are doing, because truth be told, we're all multi-talented, right? And if I take the scriptures, which this is one of my favorite scriptures, I built everything on in terms of talent on that, and it's actually the foundation of why I wrote my book, Refuse to Live Talented and Broke. So Matthew 25 says, Jesus was speaking and he gives this example of a rich man who went away and had 3 servants, and he left 1 3, the other 2, and the other 1. Now, the one who had the 1 talent did nothing. Many of us know the story, but the ones who had more than one who had 5, he doubled what he was given and gave the master back 10. Mastery of many trades. The one who had 2, he did the exact same thing. So they was probably conversing and making deals. They was working together, right? They was working together. And so I could imagine the one who had 2 is like, yo, Jim, how did you do that, man? Listen, man, I invested in this stock. He's like, what, for real? And so he invested too, right? And so when the master came back, they were straight. The one who had 1, what did he do? He was in the corner watching TV and on Facebook and everything else all day long, 18 hours a day. He did nothing with the 1 talent he had. So he didn't produce. So I think when we think of delegation, the secret to actually managing many, because the reward to those 2 servants, one who had 5 and it had 2, was that welcome into the joy of your master. In other words, the master was happy. He was pleased. He had more money than he had more money now than he had when he left, right? And so he said, welcome into the joy. Now, because you have mastered little, now to the master, 5 was little. He said, now you will be Lord and master over much. The only way you can be master over much is to learn the art of management through delegation. Mm-hmm. That is the only way to do this. How do you think Coca-Cola grew? How do you think Berkshire is able to do it? I love, Warren Buffett's philosophy is he sees a company that is doing bad. and he researches the history of the stock. But more importantly, he looks to see who the managers were. Warren Buffett will never invest, and I'm saying this because I just read his stuff. He would never invest, in my opinion, with any company, and anybody who read Warren Buffett stuff and know that if you agree, make a comment, give me a thumbs up. But if there's a company whose management cannot be confirmed to produce that which he believes it can, he ain't investing in it.
Or you know, or one thing I've seen him do is invest in the company and replace the management.
And replace, yeah, that's the only way. If it's performing, if it has good potential, and he can see the future aspects and necessity of this particular commodity, service, or product, then he would definitely change the management. But these managers are proficient in delegation, or let me put it this way, they are proficient in being a jack of all trades and mastering everything because of the law of delegation. They totally understand how to delegate. It is their job not to do stuff, but to tell people what to do and make sure they have the resources to do it.
Yes, I agree. Everybody, I'm speaking to Mr. Delano A. Johnson. He's known as the CEO of Creativity. Some of you are asking about this, so I'll give it to you now. His website, one of his websites is Delano, D-L-A-N-O, Delano Johnson.
D-E-L, like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, it's spelled the same way. Delano A, like Alpha, and then Johnson.
All right, DelanoAJohnson.com. That's DelanoAJohnson.com, D-E-L-A-N-O, ajohnson.com. And also, just to remind everybody, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe. If you're on Facebook, if you could share it to your Facebook page, we'd appreciate that very much. That helps us with the deboosting algorithm they have. Also, I want to let everybody know we decided that we're going to take the Financial Juneteenth tour to Atlanta the weekend of April 23rd, which will coincide with the We Buy Black convention. So I'm going to do 3 events in Atlanta, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday event will be a We Buy Black. Friday will be a meet and greet. We think we know the location. We're about to find that today. And then Sunday, I'll do an investment seminar. So if you'd like to learn more, go to drboyceatlanta.com. The first 40 people can get half off. Just use the code Atlanta 2019. That's Atlanta 2019. That's one word, not two, and you'll get half off. So feel free to go to drboyceatlanta.com. Okay, so Mr. Johnson, I'll let you get the last word, brother. I know you got a busy schedule, a lot of things going on. Let me ask you this. If my goal is to maximize my creativity as an entrepreneur, my goal is to just, really, really, really find the best ideas, for my business. I'd love to hear your take on this question, because I have seen situations where you had a really hardworking person who was grinding along, making this much money, and then somebody comes along and says, "Oh, well, did you try this?" And it's not even a big deal. It's nothing even big. It's a little pivot, and then boom, suddenly they're making that much money. I saw Twitter. Twitter was actually designed to be a completely different product.
Right.
The tweets were an inconsequential, tiny add-on. They didn't even think of the tweets as part of the core product.
Right.
They put out the product. The product was, nobody liked it. They were losing money by the ton, but they pivoted. They noticed that, well, people really like these little tweets for some reason. So they considered the business model, and then boom, now you got this, company that's what 40, 50 billion or 20 billion, I don't know, some insane amount of money. If I want to maximize my creativity as an entrepreneur and lift every rock, find the good ideas, what are some steps I could take right now that will help me move in that direction?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me just make a correction first. They just told me that it's lastyearbroke.com. That's the site. The other two, the sites, it's all pointing towards one thing that's being overhauled right now, but they can go to lastyearbroke.com.
Lastyearbroke.com. Okay.
Yeah, lastyearbroke.com. Now, that's a good segue to basically introduce the answer to that question. So for me, and your story of how people, you're chugging along, you did everything, you've launched, or you have an idea, you have a prototype, or you've already released it, and it's been 2 years, and it's not moving. It's not as glorious and as successful as you imagined it. When you first saw it, when you had your eureka moment, your flash of genius, as the patent office calls it. So what happens is no one really teaches us how to prepare for success. And therefore, we miss a whole lot of steps in between. I've heard a lot of people say, including Bill Gates, if you want to do anything, matter of fact, it was Sir Winston Churchill who was quoted it. He was asked a question by a young reporter who stopped him before he was entering his car and said to him, Mr. Churchill, how can I be successful? He turned around to the young lad and said, fail. Fail often, fail many times. Fail, fail, fail. I can't tell you nothing else but fail, fail, fail. And I got that, but I just don't believe that we have to invest the commodity of time to learn if we go back to what we talked about in the beginning, getting that mentor. Now, let me tell you this, my son, who is just, my son is 22 years old. He's a music producer, actor, producing his own shows, writer. He has music on sitcoms and on national television, producer, and he's 22. And I remember this time he was telling me, Dad, I wanted to do this. And I was like, well, do it this way. And he said, yeah, but I think you should be doing, I think we should do it this way. And I'm like, well, why are you asking me if you know? Do you really want to go and take a chance to do it on what you think should happen? Or are you going to let me tell you? And he said, well, Dad, how am I supposed to learn? As a matter of fact, isn't experience the best teacher? And now as a dad, I had to figure out how in the world I'm going to come back from this, right? But my 22-year-old's he's got something up on me. He's got one up on me. So how do I come back from that? And here's how I come back, because I started praying. I started praying in the spirit, Dr. Boyce.
Yeah.
And I said to him, and it came to me, and this is what I said. And if you're listening and now you got kids, I want you to write this down. Experience is not the best teacher. As a matter of fact, experience is a substitute teacher for wisdom. Experience is a substitute teacher for wisdom. I'm going to say it one more again. Experience is a substitute teacher for wisdom. Wisdom gives you the information to know exactly what to do, when to do it. If you are following a plan, matter of fact, every product comes with a book. We call it a manual. And that book gives you instructions. That is the wisdom of how to operate so that you can get the maximum performance out of this product. There is no guessing in there. This is a manual that tells you exactly what, follow these steps. Matter of fact, if you buy any of those programs on TV, they say, follow these steps, and it's guaranteed, money back guarantee. And even if they don't tell you follow it, there's a disclaimer right at the end that says you got to follow these steps one by one without missing it. So experience is not the best teacher. It is a substitute teacher for wisdom. Get a mentor, number one, because that's going to prevent a lot of heartache. A map can tell you where you need to go, but a guide can ensure that you arrive safely. That's what a mentor does. So a lot of Blacks, we get out there, we got to get this out. And I understand it. I totally understand it. But one of the first things you do is get a mentor. Like they say in real estate, location, location, location. In entrepreneurship, mentor, 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 right? And the second thing is, I got to give you this, brother. I know you have the book, but I just wanted to make mention of this here. Refuse to Live Talented and Broke. This is how I documented all of what I'm telling. I made my first million at 33, lost it all at 39. I had 3 houses. I'm originally from the Bahamas. I had a house on the water in the Bahamas. I had 2 here, one on the Hudson River in New York, and I had a house in West Orange, New Jersey. I lost all of that, sleeping in my car, got divorced. This was before I learned the art of mentorship. Now, the question is, Did I have to go through all of that? You know, I was listening to Will Smith and he was talking about when he, you know, they got this hit song and him and, you know, Jazzy made all this money and he's buying stuff, shutting down Gucci stores. At the end of it, he's broke. And luckily he met somebody like a Quincy Jones, right? And a Benny Medina, who says, hey, listen, come and do this. You got the talent, do this. Long story short, success overnight. And he's the Will Smith that we know. Many stories of that happening. Get a mentor. And long story, even shorter, I journaled exactly how I dug my way back from the abyss of being talented, gifted, creative, but still miserably broke. Not able to actualize what you know is on the inside of you. Many of you should be a thousandaire by now. You're still scraping hundreds. You should be a millionaire by now, and you're still settling for 100,000. Remember now, when God gives you a talent, he is expecting double in return. He's expecting, and I always say this, God is not a giver. God don't give stuff. God is an investor. An investor gives or invests into something expecting a return. So number two, after getting a mentor, you need to get my book. You don't have to go through it alone. Refuse to Live Talented and Broke. You can find it also at thelastyearbroke.com. I read, Dr. Boyce, I was so depressed, sleeping in my car, I read over 300 books. I mean, I read everything from Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. I read Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, and Ferguson book on the Ascent of Money. I read everything. Love Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, What the Dog Saw, The Outliers. I love his books. I read all of them and realized there were 103 things. I listed it all that entrepreneurs either doing or not doing. You're creative, but you're not doing something. It's not materializing. And I condensed it to 10 principles. And I'm gonna give you just one right before we go, that I made the chapter in a book, in this book. So it goes like this. The first reason why you could be talented and broke is because you stop believing that your situation and your life can actually change. That's when you become hopeless, because you've been doing it so many times by yourself and nothing worked. Why not try getting information from someone else? Why not saying, hey, let me do it your way and let's see what happens. Or let's create a composite of our ideas and let's see how that works, right? The seventh reason, and the most insidious, which I wish I had more time to talk about, the insidious reason why you could be talented and broke. You're chugging away. You got your idea. Everybody knows you're gifted. Everybody knows you're talented. Your grandmama said it. Your mama said it. Your cousin said it. Your teacher. Everybody tell you how good you're supposed to be, but you ain't that yet. The seventh reason why you could be there is because your creativity is being poisoned by toxic relationships. You got people in your life who pretending to be your friend, but they're your enemy. They waiting for you to succeed. They like the players who stay on the bench and don't do nothing. And then when everybody don't work hard and get banged up, they getting rings.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It makes me laugh because a lot of people don't know that that there's at least a couple guys that have more rings than Michael Jordan. Of course, you had the old Celtics team, which was amazing, but one modern player that actually had more rings than Jordan was Robert Horry.
Right, Robert Horry, right?
Yeah, and there was one other guy. And I remember now, Horry, I barely heard of him, but the other guy, I hadn't heard of him at all.
Wasn't Dennis Rodman?
I'm gonna Google it while you finish answering. Yeah. But it was the funniest thing because I said, man, this guy just knew when to jump on the right team. He was
right. Exactly.
He can say, I got more rings than Jordan, right? I think it's hilarious.
Right. Yeah, man. So it's getting that mentor. I talk about how to establish your team, finding the right people. If you're a talker, how to find your think and doer. If you're a doer, how to find your talker and your thinker, right? So I talk about how you structure, and you talk about setting structures, which Dr. George and one of my other mentors, who's no longer with us, Dr. Miles Monroe, he actually wrote the foreword for this book, always talked about systems and structure. Systems and structure. When you create a system and a structure, Robert Kiyosaki said in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then the four quadrants, and he said that you are not a business owner if you have to be on the job. You're only a business owner when you could go play golf for the whole day and not worry because you set up a system to do the work of turning you a profit. So when you set up the four quadrants, that's how you determine, that's the marker to know that you are a bona fide business owner, because you've set up a system. Now you're the master of many trades, the jack of all profits, right? Because now you have 4 or 5 different streams of income. You got 12 streams of income. Matter of fact, we had David John with us at the event, and in the dinner afterwards, we were talking, and he said, "Man, I got 80 companies." 80 companies. Now, you think he's managing all them 80 companies? It's only 7 days. He can't even visit all of them in 1 week. So how do you think he's managing that? Delegation. First of all, he's got good mentors. Look at his company, right? And number 2, he delegates, right? And 3, he masters his creativity.
Wow. Well, you know what? I agree with you 100%. I was taking notes as you were talking, because I think that what you're saying is powerful. I think it's very important. I think people should hear. I love it when people get to hear from people that, like yourself, who've owned up to mistakes that you've made. You know, the first thing you said, I made my first million at 33. I lost it by 39. I mean, I think that's really important, you know, so that people will kind of know that nobody has this whole thing right, you know, from the beginning. And also, you know, I think with creativity, when you talk about involving others, you know, one thing I learned was the importance of asking my team, like, what do you think? You know, and making sure I'm never always the smartest person in the room or the one who knows the answer. You know, it's not only disrespectful to their intelligence, talents, and creativity, but it puts me in a silly situation where I just got a bunch of yes men and yes women around me, and I'm walking, you know, taking the company down the abyss. So, you know, man, so I'll tell you, your expertise has been invaluable, and I'd like for you guys, if you could, please give Mr. Johnson a digital round of applause. Just give him a thumbs up and a thank you.
I never heard that before. How they do that?
Yeah, what they do, they just
sound like digital applause.
Just chat away. Whatever it is you want to say, thank you, God bless you.
Oh man, great, man.
Yeah, around here, man, we support all things that are good and black, and we want to see smart black people win. And we love.
I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you, man, for being out there and being an example to us, man, and being a champion for Black excellence and intellect. Black excellence and intellect. So I was upset I didn't get a chance to really sit and talk to you at the Fraser Nation. But next year, man, July 8th through 11th, it's going down. We're talking about the next level of networking, which is creative collaboration.
Now, what cities the next Fraser Net conference is going to be in?
That's Houston.
So it's going to be in Houston.
Yeah, next year in Houston. We'll be there next year in Houston. If you weren't there this year, June 26th to 29th, you missed it. We birthed the Fraser Nation, which is awesome. It's an awesome idea, and we got really great leadership. And you know, check us out.
All right.
PowerNetworkingConference.com.
PowerNetworkingConference.com.
Yes, sir.
July 8th through 11th in 2020. Also in Houston will be the All Black National Convention. Dr. George Fraser is coming as one of our speakers.
Yes.
It's going to be amazing. So if you want to obtain your passes for your family to come to the All Black National Convention. It's the weekend of September 27th. Go ahead and mark that on your calendar. Make your travel arrangements. Come out. We're going to cover everything from investing in wealth building to politics to relationships to, everything else. We have a lot of great speakers lined up. Vicki Dillard, Norma Langhamwood, Shally Moses, Dr. George Frazier, Sharif Abdul Malik from WeBuyBlack.com is coming through. So we're going to have a lot of great people there. Willie D from the Ghetto Boys even. So a broad range of blackness, a broad range of issues, a broad range of perspectives. So come on out. It's allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. If you want to follow up with Mr. Johnson, his websites, let me give you a couple websites. Write this down. Somebody type it in the chat, please. It is Delano A Johnson, DELANO.
Do the last year, if you could do the last year broke right now. The other one would be up and up. Yeah, just the last year.
So I will take that off the list. Lastyearbroke.com. Lastyearbroke.com is where you can find out about his book. What is it? The book is Talented and Broke.
What's the book, and you can get the book at talentedandbroke.com.
Okay.
That's the website that you can give them, talentedandbroke.com.
Okay, talentedandbroke.com, also lastyearbroke.com. So please get that in there. And also, last but not least, those of you who want to come and hang out with us in Atlanta, we're going to do a financial Juneteenth seminar in Atlanta, as well as a book signing meet and greet. And also, I'm going to address the group at the We Buy Black convention. So 3 days, the weekend of August 23rd. So if you want to know more about that, you can go to drboyceatlanta.com. That's drboyceatlanta.com. Use the code Atlanta 2019. That's one word instead of two, Atlanta 2019, and you can actually get half off. So thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. It has been awesome.
It's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, brother. All right. And thank you all for hanging out with us. And I'm going to go eat lunch and take a nap. So I'll see you guys
I like that
later. Y'all know we do this. We do Black excellence all day, every day, man. We are soldiers for Black power, Black empowerment, and Black intelligence. And so all of you, we love every single one of you. And we love you too, Brother Johnson. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. God bless, buddy.
Bye-bye.